What's up, Anthem? Dan here. I feel like at this point in 2020, it's safe to say that everyone is in the same boat. I mean, we're all stuck at home and we're just trying to not go crazy. Not only that, but we just found out that summer has been extended till about mid-August now when schools might be starting back up. But we're also just trying to figure out what to do with our summer right now and what that looks like. I feel like on my best days, I find myself waking up at 9 a.m. and, hopefully brushing my teeth and getting some work done during the day. But then there's other days that I found myself just still chilling in my gym shorts come 5 p.m., scrolling through Netflix, just trying to figure out what I want to binge for the day. And then eventually I'll get onto Instagram, right? I'll check my Instagram and I'll see what other people are accomplishing. And then I just totally feel terrible about myself. I mean, some people are working out, some people are doing some projects around the house. I mean, everyone's, I feel like, achieving their HGTV dream life right now. I feel like people are fixing up their cars, we're getting new cars. And then I just kind of sit there staring at my phone in disbelief and then go back to eating that pints of Ben and Jerry's that I have with me. If we can be honest for a second, maybe you feel the same way, but I feel like quarantine and this whole COVID-19 pandemic has kind of put us in this feeling of a competition at times. I mean, it can feel like quarantine life has become a competition of who can achieve the most or, come up with the best crafts or do it at home projects or, the coolest workout or, creating a viral TikTok video. And it's not just workout videos or people cleaning out their closets, right? But in the midst of all this, I feel like faith has also been a competition at times. I mean, I see people reading books, they're going ahead and posting great quotes. And I'm over here kind of feeling like a failure. We're just not a varsity Christian, right? I mean, should I be posting more? Should I be trying to write a book about all these sorts of things? I feel like at times maybe I should just start by putting on a shirt that doesn't have any stains on it or any holes in it. And this tension between how much we should be doing and how much we should be posting isn't new. I mean, yes, the internet is relatively new, but telling others what you are doing in your spiritual life isn't. And there, back in the early church, there was actually raging debates about what people should do and what they shouldn't do, and what they should and shouldn't be talking about with others about. I mean, some of the things that they talked about were where your meat came from, what you did on Saturdays, who you ate with, what parts of town that you walked through. Those were all sort of big debates back in the day. And somehow everyone knew where you stood on the issue of keeping or not keeping the Sabbath. Now you're probably wondering, what does Sabbath mean? Well, back then the Sabbath was Saturday, and you didn't leave your house and you didn't do any work. It was a day of rest. I mean, you couldn't even reheat a meal, your leftovers from the night before, right? It had to be laid out the day before so that the day was completely about rest. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been kind of looking at examples of Paul. And I feel like Paul, who kind of wrote letters back and forth with several different of the early churches, I feel like he must have gotten a letter about this one particular church and their debates about who was acting the right way and who was not, and how they even knew who was acting the right way. And so this is actually what Paul writes to a church in Colossus, all right? He writes to the church there, and this is what he says to them. And you can find this in Colossians 2:16 through 19. This is what he writes. Therefore, do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, or with regard to a religious festival, a new moon celebration, or a Sabbath day. These are a shadow of the things that are to come. The reality is, however, is found in Christ. Do not let anyone who delights in false humility in the worship of angels disqualify you. Such a person also goes into great detail about what they have seen. They are puffed up with idle notions by their unspiritual mind. They have lost connection with the head, from whom the whole body, supported and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows as God causes it to grow. So to kind of put this plainly, what Paul is saying is, do not let anyone judge you. Get over it. They might judge you, but who cares? If you want to keep a Sabbath, then keep one. It might be good for you to have a day of rest, is what Paul is saying. It might be good to have a day to focus on God. But if you do, you don't need to let the whole world know about it. And you know what I love about what Paul says is that the celebrations and the festivals that they are having are actually merely shadows of what is to come, which not only makes me curious, but it makes me hopeful for what heaven will be like one day. But lastly, what Paul writes about is he's writing about the people who are doing these things just to get noticed, right? And the theme of his prison epistles and letters that he wrote about, that he wrote when he was in prison, he talks about them being disconnected from the head that is Christ. And I think for us, what Paul would say in 2020 is, don't let the acts of a spiritual life distract us from the focus of our spiritual life. Life in 2020 is rough. We've realized that. We're halfway through it, believe it or not. Our life was moving at a quick pace, and then suddenly it stopped. I mean, the method in which we did school and so much else changed on a dime. And no one stopped to talk about the stress and the worry that it might create for us. Suddenly, the only outlet that we found ourselves for any relational connection, I felt like, is through a phone and through social media and through the infamous app called Zoom. And that is starting to cause some collateral damage that we are seeing. So we have to decide what to post and what not to. Do I post about this great verse and encourage someone, or is that just my ego getting in the way, or some of the tensions that we're facing? And ultimately, those are tough decisions to make. But here's what I know, that genuine faith produces genuine acts of faith. So for some of us, maybe we need to start trying this thing called a Sabbath, this day of rest. Maybe it's a day where we don't feel the need to keep up with the pack, and instead we rest knowing that God is in control of our future. So as you're about to head out into another week, and as you find time to connect with your tribes, I want to leave you with this question to think about. How can we keep our spiritual practices genuine?